What do a billionaire in a metal suit, a god, a soldier, a spy, a teenager from Queens, and a talking raccoon all have in common? They've all been part of one of the most successful cinematic universes in history, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And when Marvel first started off, superhero movies weren't exactly doing the best. We had Spider-Man and X-Men which were thriving, but critics were very harsh on movies like Daredevil and Hulk and Fantastic Four. Those weren't doing exactly the best. So these movies were not only a risk for actors to take on, but for studios to take on. And that all changed when RDJ took on the role of Iron Man. That changed the MCU and storytelling for superheroes forever. According to The National, this movie actually grossed $585 million worldwide. And I know we all know, and we've all seen Iron Man and seen the effect that it had. From then on, the MCU was able to evolve from a small studio gamble into a global cultural phenomenon that kind of really redefined blockbuster storytelling as we knew before that. And obviously we've all seen at least one Marvel movie, and on that photo right there you can see phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. All of these movies just kind of gave us really iconic characters and stories that became a really big part of pop culture. But what I want to talk about is what was going on behind the scenes of those movies, and what was the timeline like behind that timeline that they made, and what moves were they making that made the MCU so popular and allowed it to last for so long and allowed it to build such a big fan base that will keep its name going even after it might be done. So I just want to talk about some small little Marvel origins. If you didn't know, Marvel actually had to sell its rights to survive. They were going to go bankrupt. And a quote from Digit Magazine is that they actually believe that they just lacked a unified vision, and that's a big reason that they weren't making it at that point. But then Iron Man changed everything. Jon Favreau, if you didn't know, he played Happy too. He directed Iron Man 1, and he kind of brought a little indie experience as a director, and obviously RDJ's charm, but also risk helped. And the movie actually had $140 million to make the movie, and ended up, like I said, grossing $585, according to Harvard Business Review. And not that Marvel invented post-credit scenes, but they definitely trained their audiences specifically to wait until the end, because they often would hint at a shared universe in those scenes, and this kind of helped build the foundation for a long-term cinematic storytelling. And after that, once Marvel had kind of founded themselves and said that they were here to stay, and had a fan base that would pretty much follow them through everything, they began connecting their individual films into a more coherent universe and kind of got fans excited about who they would see. And this is when we get the movie Avengers, a really amazing movie that kind of actually grossed $1.5 billion worldwide, according to the CBR. And it proved that shared universe, the shared universe model does actually work, and people want to see that. It proved that there was an impact on the audience. They obviously set a bunch of box office records, and it just showed that long-term storytelling is something that people want to see, according to the Starburst magazine. And actually now, Marvel films overall have grossed over $17 billion. And so now Marvel's a little bit established after phase 1, and with this amount of success, obviously you can bring in new characters, new directors, and new tones, and that's what happened in phases 2 and 3. Once those got greenlit, we got a bunch of new people, and with this came, like I said, new directors, one of those being Peyton Reed, and another one being James Gunn. They, actually a fun fact about directors, once they became part of the MCU, their ratings on Rotten Tomatoes surged up by 18%, which I just think is really cool, and one of those directors was actually James Gunn. It's just a fun fact to show you how big of an impact just bringing in new faces made in Marvel, and like how these are the things that made them stay and feel unique. James Gunn obviously is known for directing the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and you can just really hear it because he's known for his amazing soundtracks in those movies, and every Marvel fan knows and love that. Another thing I think Marvel was doing really well is, I think they did this from the start, but I think they were building it up more and more as we went, is deeper emotional arcs. I think this is the reason I really love Marvel, is because they weren't afraid to kind of tap into darker things. And even though on paper these people are so otherworldly, their heroes are gods, Marvel somehow made them feel like you were going through the same issues and relatable. And obviously the Infinity Saga comes to an end after Infinity War and Endgame, and a good quote that I just want to leave you with from The National is, after 11 years and $18.5 billion at the box office, Avengers Endgame, the final installment of Marvel's extraordinary tapestry of interwoven stories and intertwined characters, marks the finale of the greatest success story in cinema history, which I just think is a perfect way to describe that run. And just to talk about a little bit of what Marvel may be doing now, they're actually on Disney Plus, and they still are releasing very great movies. I feel like a lot of different people will tell you a lot of different opinions on where Marvel is going, but I still personally believe that they're doing pretty good. And just now, over the summer, released a pretty good amount of really, really good movies. I think that they've left behind a legacy that will last forever, and it really feels like they are only just starting. They don't seem to be coming to an end anytime soon, and I don't really think anyone wants them to come to an end. A good quote I want to leave you with is, "From a man in a metal suit to a universe of stories, the MCU proves imagination can change the entertainment forever." And that's from CBR. I just think that Marvel will continue shaping the future of cinematic storytelling and will leave behind a legacy that is talked about for years and years.